In recent years, a movement has quietly begun attracting attention across parts of the United States. Its supporters say they're simply looking for a place where they can preserve their heritage, live among like-minded people, and build self-sufficient communities. Critics argue it's something far more controversial. They say it's a modern rebranding of racial segregation. The Return to the Land movement has been making waves across the United States, attracting widespread media attention and sparking conversations nationwide. As interest in the movement continues to grow, so do the questions surrounding it. What exactly is its purpose? Where did it come from? What does it believe? And why has it become the subject of growing public debate? If you're interested in staying informed about the stories shaping America today, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let's take a closer look at the Return to the Land movement and explore how it all began. Return to the Land, often abbreviated as RTTL, was founded by Eric Orwell, an American white nationalist whose stated vision is to establish self-sufficient communities exclusively for people of European ancestry. The movement drew national attention after acquiring a 160-acre property in the Ozarks Mountains of Arkansas, where that vision began taking shape. As the Arkansas sun bears down on the rugged landscape, dozens of men can be seen hammering fence posts into the red-brown earth, marking the boundaries of what they hope will become a permanent community. Over the past year and a half, members of the settlement have transformed the once undeveloped land by clearing forests, grading roads, constructing cabins, drilling wells, and building shared facilities, including a community center and a schoolhouse where children receive their education. What began as a remote patch of woodland gradually evolved into a functioning settlement, one that supporters view as a model for cultural preservation and self-reliance, but which critics argue represents a modern form of racial separatism. Its rapid development has placed the community at the center of a growing national debate. As at the time of this report, around 40 people live in the settlement, while hundreds more from across the United States and abroad have paid to become members, evidence that the movement's influence extends well beyond its Arkansas base. However, Return to the Land is not viewed merely as an isolated community. Researchers and critics have linked it to a broader ethno-nationalist movement that seeks to organize communities around shared European ancestry. Much of that activity has taken place online, where supporters communicate, recruit new members, and promote the movement's goals through social media platforms and private messaging channels. The movement has also drawn scrutiny over the online activity of some of its members. According to multiple reports, references associated with Nazi ideology and white supremacist symbolism have appeared in public discussion groups linked to the movement. Among them is the number 188, a combination widely recognized by extremism researchers as incorporating both the 14 words, a white supremacist slogan, and 88, a numerical code representing the phrase Heil Hitler. Individuals associated with the movement have, at times, dismissed such references as jokes or internet memes, but their presence has continued to fuel criticism and public concern. Founder Eric Orwell has also attracted attention for comments made in several online videos, including remarks about the emergence of a second Hitler. When questioned about those statements, Orwell said he was referring not to the atrocities committed under Adolf Hitler, but to the idea of a charismatic leader, whom some supporters believe would champion their interests. He has argued that historical figures should be viewed through a more nuanced lens, while rejecting the interpretation that he was calling for violence or another Holocaust. Orwell has consistently maintained that Return to the Land operates as a private membership organization and is therefore acting within the boundaries of U.S. law. However, legal experts and civil rights advocates have questioned that interpretation, arguing that the movement's membership policies and stated objectives could face legal challenges, depending on how they are applied and enforced. It is this combination of racial exclusivity, controversial rhetoric, and disputed legal claims that has transformed Return to the Land from a little-known settlement in the Ozarks Mountains into a movement drawing increasing national attention. Despite the criticism, the organization continues to press ahead with its long-term plans. According to its founder, the movement has invested tens of thousands of dollars in legal research, believing it has established a framework that could support the creation of many more communities in the years ahead, not only across the United States, but in other parts of the world as well. At the time of this report, at least 3 additional settlements are reportedly in development, all forming part of what Eric Orwall has described as a broader path to power. The Arkansas settlement itself was not chosen by chance. Tucked away at the end of a dirt road, beyond a small river and deep into the hills of the Ozarks, the site sits near the tiny community of Ravenden, a town with a population of just over 400 residents. Its remote location reflects a deliberate strategy. While the movement was largely organized online, Arkansas was selected for its relatively affordable land, rural landscape, and less restrictive building regulations. Conditions supporters believe make it easier to establish and expand self-sufficient communities. For the movement's supporters, the settlement represents the beginning of a much larger vision. For its critics, however, it raises pressing questions about how far such communities could spread and what their growth could mean for the future of American society. To better understand daily life inside the settlement, Sky News correspondent Tom Cheshire visited the community and spent time observing how residents live. His report offers a rare glimpse into a place that is largely closed to outsiders. According to the report, around 20 members gathered one Friday evening in the settlement's communal area, sharing burgers and fresh goat's milk produced on the property. Not everyone in the wider community was willing to appear before journalists. Members reportedly told Cheshire that some supporters preferred to remain anonymous, claiming they included law enforcement officers and even federal employees. Reaching the settlement is no simple task. Hidden at the end of a dirt road, across a shallow stream and deep into the Ozark Hills, the community sits near the small town of Ravenden, home to over 400 residents. According to residents, life on the property is intentionally simple but demanding. Residents contend with intense summer heat, rugged terrain, and ticks common to the surrounding woodlands. Even so, some have chosen to leave behind their previous lives to settle there permanently. Among them are David and Caitlin, 2 early members who joined the project independently before eventually getting married. Speaking with Cheshire, David said he first learned about the movement after watching one of Eric Orwall's online videos showcasing the construction taking place on the land. Curious to see the project for himself, he decided to visit. Caitlin said she was drawn to the idea because she believed there was nothing else like it in the country, adding that people should have the freedom to choose the kind of community they want to live in. The views expressed by David and Caitlin reflected a broader outlook shared by many of the residents interviewed. Many described their decision to join the settlement as a response to what they see as significant cultural and political changes in the United States. Among the concerns they raised were immigration, cultural identity, and the direction of Western society, issues that have become central to political debate in recent years. As night fell over the Ozarks, heavy rain swept across the valley, sending residents into the community's schoolhouse. Inside, shelves lined with books and musical instruments reflected another side of life within the settlement. Before returning to their cabins, members gathered once more, sharing fresh goat's milk and continuing conversations that, for them, represented the community they had set out to build. The following day, work on the settlement resumes. Under Eric Orwall's direction, members and prospective recruits gather to continue developing the property, with volunteers helping to build infrastructure and expand the community. Joining Return to the Land involves a structured application process. Prospective members must first apply to the organization's Private Membership Association, PMA, a legal framework the movement says allows it to operate as a private association rather than a public organization. According to the group's publicly stated membership policies, applicants must meet specific eligibility requirements. Membership is restricted to people of European ancestry, while individuals who identify with what the organization describes as non-European religions, including Islam, as well as gay individuals and others whose lifestyles or beliefs the movement says do not align with its traditional values, are not eligible to join. The group's logo, a rune inspired by Norse mythology, appears throughout the settlement and prominently on its website, serving as one of the movement's most recognizable symbols. Applicants who pass the organization's vetting process, which includes a video interview, intended to verify their identity and ancestry, are then eligible to purchase shares in the movement's limited liability company, or LLC. According to the organization, those shares correspond to parcels of land within the settlement, allowing members to build homes and establish a permanent presence in the community. The organization maintains that this combination of a private membership association and an LLC provides a legal framework for operating the settlement. However, as previously noted, some legal experts have questioned whether every aspect of that framework would withstand legal scrutiny if challenged. At the heart of Return to the Land strategy is its classification as a private membership association, or PMA. The organization argues that operating as a private association allows it to exercise the constitutional right to freedom of association, rather than functioning as a public organization subject to the same legal obligations. According to the movement's leadership, this legal structure is central to its ability to enforce its membership policies. Peter Cherry, widely regarded as Eric Orwell's second-in-command and one of the architects of the group's legal framework, has publicly acknowledged that the PMA model was intentionally adopted to protect the organization's right to determine its own membership. Supporters argue that this approach reflects constitutional protections for private associations, while critics question whether those protections extend as far as the movement claims. That legal interpretation, however, remains the subject of significant debate. Civil rights advocates argue that no legal framework should be used to justify discrimination based on race or other protected characteristics. Barry Jefferson, president of the Arkansas branch of the NACT, said the movement raises concerns that echo painful chapters of American history, particularly the era of racial segregation under the Jim Crow system. Jefferson has argued that the Civil Rights Act does not provide the exemptions the organization appears to rely upon, adding that previous attempts by other groups to make similar arguments have ultimately failed. The controversy has also attracted the attention of Arkansas state officials. In response to questions about the settlement, Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin said racial discrimination has no place in Arkansas or in any free society. He added that the allegations surrounding the organization raise a number of legal and constitutional questions and confirmed that his office was reviewing the matter. While Return to the Land seeks to build an independent community, it does not exist in isolation. Just over 30 minutes away lies the town of Pocahontas, Arkansas, where the movement has sparked conversations among local residents about its potential impact. One of those voices is Pat Johnson, who spent her childhood in Pocahontas during the era of racial segregation. In the 1950s, she attended what was then known as the Pocahontas Colored School, a school established for African American children at a time when segregation laws prevented black and white students from attending the same schools. Reflecting on those years, Johnson described growing up in a society where everyday life was divided along racial lines. She recalled separate schools, separate public spaces, and the constant feeling of being rejected because of the color of her skin. After learning about the goals and membership policies of Return to the Land, Johnson said the movement reminded her of a painful period she hoped America had left behind. She expressed concern that ideas associated with segregation could once again gain acceptance, saying such developments make it difficult to know whom to trust. Johnson also shared her belief that the country's current political climate has made some people feel more comfortable expressing views that were once kept private. That assessment reflects her personal perspective, but it is one of many opinions that have emerged as Americans continue to debate issues of race, identity, and freedom of association. While Johnson's views are her own, data suggests that extremist activity has drawn increasing attention in recent years. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, in other words known as ACLED, incidents involving white supremacist groups, including demonstrations, propaganda campaigns, public meetups, and recruitment efforts, have increased over the past several years. The organization, which monitors political violence and protest activity around the world, says these trends have contributed to renewed public concern about the visibility and organization of such movements. As conversations around identity, civil rights, and extremism continue to evolve, movements like Return to the Land are likely to remain under close public scrutiny. Whether viewed as an exercise in freedom of association or a movement that raises difficult questions about discrimination and social division, its emergence has become part of a much broader national conversation. How that conversation unfolds in the years ahead remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the story of Return to the Land and the debate surrounding it is far from over. If you found this documentary informative, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more in-depth coverage of the stories shaping the United States today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.